Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live, and if you've just tuned in, we're discussing how church leaders are reaching out to religious communities to join them in their quest to advance the National Strategic Plan for 2017 to 2022. And my guests here in studio this morning, I'm joined by Archbishop Dr. Mbulelo Dyasi and the South African Chairperson of SANERELA and Bishop Bhekimpi Mchunu from the Church Leaders Council of South Africa. And thank you for staying with us. Now, just coming back, you mentioned something about some of the churches not in agreement, saying that they don't want to discuss the issue of condoms, as you mentioned. So who didn't participate in this?
Yeah, for instance, we had to reach out and have meetings with a number of institutions, including Catholic services. And in the process of having discussions, some institutions said to us, you know what, we can't participate in your summit because in terms of their policies, they're not allowed to talk about condoms, for instance, and especially issues of family planning and all that. And we said to them, it's okay. It's okay. That does not mean after the summit we cannot partner. All we wanted in that summit is to say, what is our position as religious leaders, not what is our position in terms of the churches, because you can't change constitutions of different churches. That one is a long walk to freedom. But as religious leaders, as individuals, there's something that we can do. So the summit was trying to formulate policies that will unite all of us. And we have agreed in terms of the summit to say, let us train pastors rather than focusing on individual doctrines. That one won't even win that battle. It's going to waste our time. Rather, let's focus on capacitating religious leaders so that in the process of spreading the gospel, at least the community must benefit from this pastor. Because our duty is beyond pulpit. And pastors agreed that we are going to have safe toolkit trainings where we'll be training them around issues of stigma, we'll be training pastors around issues of treatment, because there is confusion when it comes to treatment with religious leaders. For instance, some religious leaders, they can't differentiate between bacteria, germs, viruses, and demons. When you are very sick, for instance, pastors see demons. And at some point, pastors must understand that some interventions are clinical. As a person who's living with HIV, for instance, I need ARVs. I'm not demonic. And I'm also living with or suffering from diabetes and epilepsy. And I know that for me to live longer, I need ARVs, I need Epilim, and I need metformin. So, and then at the same time, I need the spiritual upliftment in the process, because all those are important. For me, that's a combo that is necessary for me to live longer. So I cannot, for instance, I remember at some point I was told that I must stop my treatment by one of the pastors where I used to worship, that I must stop my medication, I'm demonic, and he brought a holy water, for instance, from Nigeria. And I took the holy water, but I had to reactivate my conscience to say, I'm now replacing my medication with this holy water. And I realized later that, you know what, this is water after all. I need this water, I need this medication, and I need God in the process. So that's what we want to do when we're going to provinces, January until March, to say to pastors, rather than competing with all these interventions, rather let's embrace everything and say we all need these interventions. We need holy water, we also need our medication.
Very interesting.
That's
and Bishop Mchunu, with regard to the plan, the strategic plan 2017 to 22, what exactly does that entail in overall?
As Dr. Dyasi has mentioned, that the plan is about capacitating the pastors or the church on issues that are touching them directly, on issues like the illnesses which needs to be attended in different ways, and those ways which will be helpful to them. And also, we've looked at the angle of infection, that also children must be protected in many ways. So there must be an engagement that will make the children to be highly protected, because it has been seen that most of the children are being infected from the older people. So therefore, maybe we even decided that we will engage even the government on the Child Marriage Act, which is sometimes ask the parents to have a consent, that maybe we need to align these acts now so that the children will be highly protected. It means that in terms of infections, because also we are trying to minimize or eradicate the infections. So that decision on its own is making us to say there is a lot that needs to be done in terms of capacitating the church on its own.
We're out of time, basically, but just very briefly, in the example that Archbishop Dyasi mentioned, for example, where someone said to him, you must go off your medication and just have the holy water. How are you going to deal with that, where there are real cases of people who are being actively told to stop medication and just follow what a pastor, a bishop, or someone is telling them in a church? How are you going to deal with that?
What we've agreed upon is the angle that says, let's accept that we need what can help people. So it means that we should welcome whatever help that is being given without undermining any help. Like, for instance, as Dr. Gyas was saying, you mustn't stop the medication because now you've got something else. Because even that also can enhance the help that we need for you to live long. The medication is what has been tested for people to live long. Therefore, when you deal with that, you must have a conscience that we can't say that one is wrong and that one is right, but we are saying what will help a person must be used into its effectiveness.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. That's all we have time for, but it's an interesting one. It's a complicated one, but we certainly will follow up to see how this goes and how this message, the strategy and the strategic plan 2017 to 2022 is actually adopted by the various religious leaders throughout the sector.